Today, we're talking about the age-old concept, rocky friendships. If you're new here, this is Fantastic Fantastic, your friendly neighborhood podcast making self-improvement fun and easy. I'm your co-host, Joie Solano, and this season is all about friendships. Today, we're doing something a little different, and we have a special guest. He's my childhood enemy, the source of my old nightmares, and he's here to talk about what went wrong in our friendship. Introducing my brother, Joie Solano. Cue the intro.
Whoa, such high praise. Hey guys. Glad to be on.
Yes, this is Joie Solano, the co-host of Fantastic Fantastic.
Hey guys. The source of nightmares, eh?
Okay, since our season's all about friendships, we thought, why not talk about our friendship? I feel like on camera we seem like a friendly, really close bunch, but guys, it was not always like this.
Yeah, I was the source of nightmares, as you guys could hear. I didn't write that part.
Yes, I wrote it. It's true.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Let's talk about it. So the way that we're doing this is Joey is just gonna ask me some questions and we're gonna talk about it. And hopefully you guys learn something new. But yeah, oftentimes when people see us, they're like, there's no way you guys haven't been best friends like this since forever. And I'm like, no, there was a moment when Joey would tell me that she would journal or write in her diary about me and how I always make her cry. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like our friendship arc is pretty unique because we're so close now. But it definitely is like a journey of like growth, like reconciliation, like we're trying to heal from our issues, insecurities being projected like crazy, how important it is to be vulnerable with one another so we can like actually forgive each other and like move on and grow. For some quick background, I wanted to mention that Ian is 5 years older than me. And I feel like in general we have always been close, but one thing that is really important to know is that I used to be very anxious around him just because like I used to look up to him and I was always anxious that I would disappoint him. So like this is kind of like where this is all coming from. So, first question, Ian. Why did you hurt me?
For sure. We're jumping into it. As you know, I think that's that's a good question to start off. Very heavy. I'd say I did it because I was really insecure about myself. And
wait, sorry. I want to give some background as to how you hurt me, I guess specifically.
Sure.
So I think the way you hurt me specifically was just like you'd had really high expectations for me and you would tell me to like, one thing that stood out to me was that you would always tell me to do these essay competitions. And man, against my will, I did not want to do an essay competition and stuff. And like, I think that really hurt me for some reason.
Hurt you in what way though?
I guess it was like, oh, I'm so anxious. Like, I don't think I'll meet your like expectations. And I think it started because there was this one time in elementary school where I had an essay due, and you were like, Joey, let me go over your essay. And I'm like, okay. And then you went over my essay and you were like, yeah, this is all wrong. This is not good. This is not good at all. And like in retrospect, obviously if you're like a 7th grader reading like some elementary student's like essay, obviously nothing seems that good. But I remember those words. I was like, oh my God, nothing's gonna be ever good enough. Oh no. So then when you got older and you were like, damn, Joey needs to enter these essay competitions because like she needs scholarship money. It's good for like her education and good practice. And you know, like I could see that now, but like back then when you would like give me an essay competition, I'm like, it's just another opportunity to disappoint him. No.
Dang, that's crazy. It's crazy because I don't remember any of that. Not to say, not me being like, oh, I'm not trying to gaslight you or anything like that, but it's just like I think that part of my childhood has been so like I just wanted to forget a lot of it, you know. But you know, 100%, I probably did that. I 100% did that, you know, if that's what you remember. So I would say is that like a lot of it had to do with like no one helped me with my essays, you know, and I think like when we grew up, in an immigrant household, which meant that our parents, when they came here, it was like their first time. You know, when my brother came here, and he's like our oldest brother, like, or there's only 3 of us. You know, a lot of it was like them trying to navigate how to do all of these things while still trying to put a roof over our head, while still trying to like get used to the culture.
Yeah.
You know,
they also had like no experience in the college or the American college university system.
Yeah. I remember the context behind that was I was like, I want to be a better brother for you. And because those weren't things that I received. And it definitely came off the wrong way, you know? Like, I definitely could have handled it better, but I think it was me projecting on my insecurities and like my wants onto you to be like, hey, I wish someone told me about this scholarship because I would have had money to do X, Y, Z. I didn't, you know, but I wish you did. But now the way that I showed that was like, you better do these freaking essays. You better sign up for these programs, you know? And if you don't, it's a waste because like there was like this heavy pressure of like, I must succeed as a person, and the same expectation that my brother had, and I was passing that on to you. And yeah, I think that's kind of why. And I think obviously too, like just being an older brother, like there was a lot of like power dynamics that were kind of involved with how my older brother treated me and how I expected to get that same level of power now that I had someone under me. You know, like the same amount of energy of being like told what to do, of like, do this, do that. Like, why? Well, I'm your parent. I'm your older brother. I'm your older, you know what I mean? Like it's that energy was like, it's time, you know, it's time for me, like get me a glass of water, you know?
Oh my God. Speaking of glass of water, I don't know if you remember this, but there was this one time when Ian had asked me, like any other day, he'd ask me for a glass of water, and I was like, no, I'm not going to get you a glass of water, Kuya. I refuse. And then he was like, you know, Joey, you're going to remember this moment forever. You're going to regret it. Yeah. I was just like, I think it's really funny that I still remember. But what's interesting as we talk about it right now is that like, I feel like those like tasks of like, oh, get me a glass of water, or like those small power dynamic things that you do as an older brother didn't affect me as much as like the way you'd ask me to do essays. Like for some reason that stuck.
Okay.
And that's really interesting because your intentions were very like unlike asking me for a glass of water, which is like I just want the power.
I just wanted the water.
The water and the power. Because if you just wanted the water, you would get it yourself.
Right. Sure.
But like with the essay competitions, you're like looking out for me. But like I guess the intention wasn't clear enough. And I was just like, he just wants to see me fail again and critique my essay.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I felt like within our family, I felt like I took on a very heavy parental role.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like I really was, hey, how are you doing in your classes?
Hey, why haven't you done your SAT prep?
Yeah. And honestly, it's because like I was really pushing that onto you because I had so many regrets, and like I was blaming external things. Like I was blaming my parents for not like preparing me hard enough or like pushing me hard enough, you know? They were busy with working and everything else, but like I remember just being like, dang, like I wish someone had pushed me, because if someone had pushed me, then I would have got into XYZ college, or I would have been more prepared. And I think onto you, now that it was your turn, I was like, I'm not going to let like our family almost fail you in that way. So I was very harsh on you when it came down to like these essays apparently. And also just like, for sure SAT, for sure you're getting good grades, and for sure you're writing.
Yeah.
You know, like those things were important to me. And so like I passed that on to you of like, hey, like you got to lock in for these things.
I think it was building up resentment, and like I actually was getting so much more anxious as time went on, especially like in middle school. Like you can ask one of my like best friends. She remembers when I would always cry to her during like I don't know, like lunch break. I'd be like, I just can't. I just feel like I'm gonna disappoint him again if I submit the essay. But if I don't submit the essay, he'll still be as disappointed.
Was this a specific program, by the way, or was it?
No, it was just like any essay. There was like there
was a lot of essay competitions.
There was like I don't think it was, honestly, like looking back, it wasn't that many. But I think like each one just like hurt me because it was like every season there was a new one and I was like, I can't do it.
Oh wow.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So there was like all this resentment building up in me, or not resentment, but like just anxiety building up in me. And I just felt like it was weird because we were still close. You know, Ian, like, you can speak on this. Like, Ian thought we were still, like, really close. And, like, we were super chill and epic. And
yes. I definitely think we did. We were. Especially because, like, growing up, I remember just us laughing a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, we would have, I in my head, I was like, we had really good memories of us just goofing around, laughing, and how every time we were together, we would just, like, be silly goofy. Mm-hmm. But it was also kind of like a toxic relationship because it would be fun, silly, goofy, and then it would be, hey, do this thing, lock in, and I need to see your work, and it needs to be good, you know? So it was like a very, like, it was unpredictable, and I reflecting back on that, I was very unpredictable towards you, and I felt like that maybe gave you anxiety because you never knew, like,
I didn't know when the next, like, essay or the next assignment was. I don't even think it was just essays. It was just like, here's an assignment for you, is like kind of the language we use too.
I don't know if this is accurate, but you could tell me if it's not. But I remember being like, you should also read these books.
Oh my God, guys. I just remembered. Okay, when I was in, I think, like, maybe 5th or 6th grade, you were like, he's in high school. He's, like, doing AP push, like, AP US history, if you don't know. And he was like, read this book. Hands me the fat ass book copy, physical copy of Guns, Germs, and Steel. And it's like, highlight every word you don't know.
Oh my God, I remember this.
And then define it. And then I remember I would slack off on reading because I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't see the point. And then I remember one time I was like, you know what? I'm going to freaking highlight any word I want. And then you got mad at me doing that. And then the next time I didn't, I barely highlighted words. And then you were testing me on that. So it's just like, it was too unpredictable.
I think, I think there was some sense of rebellion as you were doing these things, and I was starting to sense it. And I think, like, it was a mixture of a lot of things. It was like, one, I gave you this task because there was a lot of words I didn't know. And I was like, I don't want you to be confused by the time that you get to this, you know, grade of, like, because, like, we didn't read at all, like, when we were younger, you know, like, reading wasn't encouraged. It was just not the thing. And so I remember reading this book and being like, damn, I really don't know anything. Like, I was like, I feel so dumb. And I was like, I don't want you to go through that same level of embarrassment as I did. But again, it didn't come across the way that I wanted it to. Yeah. Because I felt like I needed someone to really push me, you know, to be really hard on me and have that, like, tough love. And you reacted to it way differently. You know, I think because, again, the regrets that I had was that, like, man, I wish my mom or my dad pushed me to do X, Y, Z. You know, why did they stop me from completing my guitar lessons? You know, like, little things like that where I was like, no, I need someone to be tough. And that's what I care about. So I will be tough on you. Yeah.
And, like, I know, like, our parents were always busy. So maybe you were also thinking, like, I know our parents are too busy to, like, they're taking care of, like, other things, so I will step in and take that role on. Yeah. But yeah, like, when you speak about it like that, it's like, no, that's reasonable as hell. But for me, I was like, he wants to torture me with this, like, non-fictional.
I'm so sure that is, like, like 100%. Looking back at it, I don't think about it in, like, this veil of, like, oh, I was trying to do good. I look at it more of, like, what is the impact that I had on you? Yeah. And the impact is that, like, I made you cry all the time, you know? And so I remember going back to this conversation, I had called you because I thought we were chill. I thought we were fine. I thought our relationship had been better at this point.
This was, what year would you think this was?
I have no clue.
It might be like 2000. It might be when I was, like, in the beginning of high school.
Okay, beginning of high school. So maybe I was, like, late high school, college.
You were in college. You were in college, definitely.
And I remember just, like, talking to my friend about how, like, we had a really good, close relationship with each other.
Because we did laugh. Like, I remember one distinct memory I had, like, I think a couple weeks before we had this conversation, like, the conversation of confronting this issue was, like, you visited, like, our place during break, and I think you were like, Joey, I can't stop. You bring out such a weird side to me. Like, I can't stop laughing. Like, we were having so much fun, and that was a really fun memory. But, like, just a couple weeks later we have this conversation, but you can go on.
And the conversation was like, I think I don't know who I was talking to, like which friend, but I was like, yeah, like my sister and I are so close. And Joey was brought onto the call, and I was like, Joey, tell them how great of a brother I am, you know, jokingly, and also like not jokingly. It was just to like introduce my sister. And then Joey replies with, hey, actually not really.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, actually, Kuya, like, you make me cry. Like, I actually get a lot of anxiety from you, and you make me cry all the time, and you really stress me out, and I'm kind of scared of you.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, well, for some context before that too. So, like, you were calling your friend thinking it was a really chill night. I think before that, I was actually talking to the same best friend from middle school. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. And she's like, you need to tell him, Joey. Like, you need to tell him now. Otherwise, it's going to get worse, or it's going to keep getting worse. So
W friend, by the way.
Yes, W friend. And I think it was just interesting that like I had said it at that moment, because it was like, this is such an awkward like position to put you in.
It was.
Like,
but I'm glad you did.
Yeah. But I also felt like, why wasn't I thinking about that? Like, why did I just say that in front of your friend after you like gas our like relationship up? Like,
I'm pretty sure the friend was like, Ian, you are a buffoon. Like, why are you lying? And in my head, I was like, oh, I didn't know that happened.
So like after having that conversation, I wanted to ask, what was going through your mind?
I think it was like, I was really shocked. I was really surprised, because I think in that conversation too, you told me how, yeah, like sometimes I would just cry because you make me so anxious. And I felt so bad. I was like, I can't. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that I'm like a source of your anxiety. I can't believe I'm a source of you crying, you know? And that was a shock. And I felt, I was like kind of confused in the sense of like, I was like, man, I don't know how to handle this. It's really, initially I was just really shocked.
Yeah, and I think hearing your shock was a shock to me, because it also kind of crumbled the idea that you were like doing all of these things on purpose. Because I thought a lot of it was like, this is my older sibling. Older siblings just bully. Like, this is just a natural part of life, guys. This is what it's like to be the youngest daughter or the youngest like sister or sibling. I think after a couple minutes of that call, or after we ended that call, you sent me like a long message apologizing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you remember anything you said in that message.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, basically, like, stuff that I remember was that, like, you were like, I'm so sorry, I had no idea at all, Joey. Like, I can't believe you thought I was ever disappointed in you. Like, that is something I have never been disappointed in you. I always just do those things, like, so I can help you. Like, I thought I was helping you this whole time, but I had no idea I was making you so anxious.
Yeah.
And that was really, like, eye-opening, because I'm like, oh my God, like, this is so many years of like just like us misinterpreting each other's actions.
Yeah, I think like looking back, I mean, just hearing those words, I remember that text because I really thought we were good. And I think I was shocked, you know? And I think just hearing you being like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm a source of that anxiety. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Not that your feelings were invalid, but more just like, oh my gosh, all of my actions have not been received well. Or like, I definitely should have done something differently to express my care. And so I think from that, I was like, no, let's fix this. Let's make it better.
Yeah, I really like that you did feel like, yeah, let's fix this. Because like, as someone who did start the conversation, I guess technically, I felt so guilty. And I think one thing that was really hard to deal with was that like, or why I had delayed it so much was because we were so close.
Yeah.
Some moments, and like I guess the way our friendship would go was like unpredictable. Like, we'd be laughing really hard, then there'd be like an assignment, and then I'd be like, you know, like it was just like, where's it gonna go next? But I remember like when I had told you, or when I had said it out loud to you, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've just ruined the relationship. I think I've like caused permanent damage by communicating or being honest, because I could have just I could have just like dealt with it, you know, is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me, because like as we learned in our previous episode on rupture and repair, like it's good to have these conversations and to like feel the intimacy of having all your feelings kind of out there, so that way the other person can showcase how they want to react.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think if you dealt with it by yourself to fix our relationship, I don't think it would have worked, because then it would only be one-sided. I remember by that time I had been more mature. Like I matured as a person. And so I was able to articulate my feelings a little bit more. As I was trying to fix our relationship, the main focus that I had was like remembering for myself that it was about our relationship and not about just my feelings alone. You know, because I think it's easy when you're placed into this really uncomfortable position of someone who you really like and really love, to be like, hey, you hurt me. It's like, oh, shoot, my bad, you know? And I think also, too, even after that conversation, there would be periods and moments. It took us a while to heal, you know, but there would be periods and moments where I could see you shrivel up as a person.
Oh, yeah.
I could see you, like, you kind of like your eyes, kind of like the energy drains from your eyes if something happened. Like, I can tell that there was a lot of things that were coming back, you know? And in those moments, I was like, I had to remind myself, like, this isn't about me. Like, even though this feels so uncomfortable for me, I'm not going to just push it away just because it's uncomfortable for me. It's like, I need to understand how I affected you, so that way we can heal better, you know? And I think like that's happened a lot in my previous relationships, where, not to say that I'm like obviously trying to hurt people, you know, but like when you have two people, whether that's a best friendship or like a romantic relationship, you guys aren't the same person, you know? So you're coming together in the relationship with different values and mindsets and approaches to different things. And like, it's easy for the other person to tell you like, oh, they feel hurt, right? And then you try to fix it. But then there's a lot of frustration, because even despite all those things that you're trying to do, it's not working. And it's easy to be like, oh, like, why aren't you, like, why aren't we better? You know, like, this should be working, like, and putting the blame on you. But instead, it was a conscious decision for me to be like, no, it's okay. Like, if my approach isn't working, let's try something else. Like, how can I better approach this? You know? And I feel like we've had a lot of conversations that way, where I'm like, okay, something I learned maybe last year, 2 years ago, was like, you don't like it when I mock you. And like that triggers something inside of you, you know?
Yeah, but like the mocking isn't even like actually mocking, I guess. It's like when I hear like an example is like, yeah, Joey, and you can't be like, I was like, blah, 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 blah. Like, you just change your voice, right? And I feel like to anyone else, and like in any other scenario, you change your voice to like show that you're talking about someone else, you know?
Right.
That you're acting as someone else. But for some reason, I feel like that was like, oh, I saw it as mocking.
Yeah.
And then I had told you, and you were like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, it's like communication works.
Yeah. And I think it's like a lot of that, because like when relationships I think relationships fail when you have a lot of assumptions, right? And so like a lot of times I would be really confused, because I'd be like, oh, you're upset right now. And I could tell you're upset, or like you're sad, or like your mood shifted. It's like, I didn't think anything I said was bad, but because of our unique relationship or like our history, then maybe it was bad. So tell me about it, you know? And so it was a lot of that, because it was a lot of me grappling with the fact of like, I hurt someone really badly, you know? And I'm the cause of a lot of this like turmoil, and a lot of like this history of you just being like crying and anxious. And it was a lot of me being like, okay, I have to understand that it's like, yes, I feel guilty, and sometimes I feel bad that like it's not working. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. What matters is that we as a friendship are getting better, and that you are feeling better, and like you are starting to understand my intentions a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then what do you think is like the biggest contributor to like our now relationship, like mending our relationship?
For me personally, I think it was exactly what I said. But also another important thing was that like I paid attention to a lot of the details.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like I really was like, I can't assume that what will make someone else upset is the same thing that will make you upset. You know, even recently, like let's say when you were applying to art school.
Yeah.
And I was reviewing your college essays.
Yes.
I thought it was a very lighthearted activity where you were like, oh, Guya, can you help me out?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think you were like tiptoeing a little bit.
Yeah. When I had asked you to like review my college essays, I was like avoiding asking you, even though I knew I needed your feedback, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be really anxious. Like I already feel it like building up in me. Like I don't want to see your comments. I don't want to see your suggestions on my Google Doc. Like I'm too scared. And then I remember what was interesting was that like he's like, okay, how about you read it out loud, just like as a method of like improving the essay. But I was like, you want me to read my essay to you? So you want to like critique me in front of my face? And like I remember there was a moment where you're like, what's going on? Like, what's up? Like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. It's just taking me back to like when you used to grade my essays and like critique them when I was younger. So now I'm like, I feel really anxious. And then Ian was like, no, Joey, like this is like, I'm not like I'm not here to do that. Like, I'm so sorry about that when I was young, or when we were younger, but like, I'm just here to help you out. Like, trust me, like, I'm not going to do that, you know?
Right. And again, I've said that several times in the past, right? It could be easy to be frustrated in that moment. Being like, I've told you so many times that like, that's not my intention. But like, again, you have to approach it with like gentleness. Otherwise, like, you're not caring about the other person. You're just caring about you being right.
Yeah, and I think one thing that like I really appreciated about this like recent essay time was that like we spoke about it a little, so you got a better understanding, and then you were also just like, hey, if you don't want me to like grade the essay, it's okay. I don't have to. I'm like, no, I need it. Like, and then I was like, I need to take this as an opportunity to get through it, so I know that, you know, like my younger self has like moved on, you know, that we have a better relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting because like when I was younger, our relationship had no boundaries. Like maybe I crossed a lot of boundaries in the sense of like ordering you around all the time. Like I would try to get you to be scared of me, you know? I would give you like silent treatments. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that.
Like there were a lot of boundaries were being crossed. And I think as we got older, I understood a lot of myself and why I reacted that way. But also like, I was like, oh, I passed that on to you because I didn't like that for myself. You know, like the way that mom would ignore me when she got mad at me was the same way that I had learned how to cope, but it was a very unhealthy way to cope towards you, you know? So I think as we're older now, we understand, oh, that's a healthy boundary.
Yeah, everything you mentioned is part of how we mended our relationship. But on my side, I feel like I had to definitely learn how to communicate better. I did make a lot of assumptions that like, oh, he's doing this on purpose, you know? Or like assumptions that like, this is just how life is. Yeah. Like, you're just supposed to be bossed around like crazy. Or you're supposed to be ignored. And like, I think now, or like slowly and over time, after this conversation, I've been better at communicating or just being like more straightforward. Even if it takes a little more time, I do like build up the courage to actually say something because I know you will take it well.
Yeah. And I think something else to remember in terms of like what you can learn about relationships is if you are in Joey's position where you were the person that got hurt, it is scary for you to reignite some of those situations where you were previously hurt, right? In this case, it was Joey asking me for help. But I think if you really value the relationship and you trust the other person, it's important for you to give that person more opportunities to show that they're different, that they've changed, you know, that way that the relationship can actually grow.
Yeah, I think like what makes this relationship so unique is like we were still so close. Like I feel like it's not all just these bad memories. And I think like having all those good memories too of like laughing, being really close, understanding each other kind of made it really hard to navigate the relationship. But that's why it was so important to be straightforward and not assume anything and like take all these like small actions to improve and like heal the relationship. Right. Yeah. So how do you feel about our relationship now, brother?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I think our relationship is pretty solid.
I thought like before I was like, oh yeah, he's my best friend. We're like really close. But now I feel like we're even closer. Close. Especially doing this podcast and like understanding what it's like to work beside each other.
Yeah, that's been a fun time.
The deeper our friendship goes, the more I like see you as a whole human being.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, I don't know that that's weird to say, but it's like sometimes when you're in an argument with a friend or like a sibling or a family member, it's like hard to see them as just like, they're just here to piss me off, you know, or they're just like, they're just, but like I think being so close, it's like, no, there's all these other aspects to this person that like just this one action isn't gonna make me hate them. Like, you know what I mean?
And I think it's like it's given me a lot of like, in general, a lot of empathy. In the sense of like understanding you and where you're coming from has helped like our relationship and how like deep it's been has helped my other relationships.
Yeah.
Of being like, oh no, like they don't mean the worst, you know, like most likely they don't mean the worst thing. And they're not doing it like out of bad intent. It's more just like they're coming from a place that I don't understand yet. So let me try to figure it out.
I guess one thing I'm like thankful for with our history or relationship or friendship history is that like it's such a unique experience to have gone through like all of this history, because now it's like when I do accomplish something, it feels like very rewarding to like tell you, because it's like, wow, you've seen me at my worst, you know? We've seen each other at such like vulnerable and like sad parts.
Yeah, yeah.
So like when we are on top of the world, it just is like, and you were here to witness all of it, Guya.
Yeah, and I think that's so nice. And I feel the same way, where it's like you have seen me, like you just know the context, you know the history. And so when you say good job, it encapsulates all of like my late nights when I'm texting and being like, dude, I'm like stressed. You know, it encompasses all of my small wins that led up to the huge win. It's so nice to have such a deep and rich friendship that it's like, it's cool that we're doing something like this.
So, do you have any final thoughts before we say bye to our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is subscribe.
Oh,
Hello. The second thing is like understanding that healthy relationships take a lot of work and a lot of time. If you think our relationship is close and now you know the context that it wasn't always like this, I hope it gives you some sense of hope that a lot of your friendships, a lot of your relationships can be mended if you give it enough time, and that if both parties have mutual respect and care and love for each other. The other thing too is just because we took a lot of time to fix this relationship doesn't mean that that was the most important thing. I think another important aspect of our relationship is that we encourage each other, and that we're not just trying to fix problems, we're also proactively trying to grow the relationship, you know, by us saying like, oh, good job, or like, I'm proud of you, or I'm so glad that we're friends. Like a lot of that is equally as important to us being like, oh, let's fix it.
Yeah. I feel like we do say, like, whether it's like after a really good laugh or like having a really hard day, it's like, I wouldn't do this with anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, except you. He says it better.
Yeah, there's, you know, it's good to have words of affirmation.
Yeah.
You know, just to let the person know. Like when I'm with my friends, I'm like, guys, that was a great hangout.
Yeah, we are two very like sappy, like, wasn't it a great time? Like, I'm so thankful for being your friend, and like that we have like we're in the same space together and we're living in the same timeline. Like, I do laundry and taxes with you any day. And I think like that practice only developed because of our relationship, or at least for me. I don't know if it's like that for you, but I think like we had to work so hard to get our relationship into a good place that we had to vocalize it, and like so the other person knew, I appreciate being your friend. Like, things have changed. We like each other. We are great friends. If you're in a situation where maybe you have had a fight like this, or like you have had a really rocky relationship, it's important to like be straightforward and show the other person that you will be honest. You will just say it as it is.
Yeah.
That's all for today's episode on rocky friendships. Let us know if you've been in a rocky friendship, or maybe you're in one. Maybe you've mended. Maybe you've given your friend a second chance, and now you guys are like BFFs.
Yeah, we totally coordinated that high five. And if you have any other advice on how to mend rocky friendships, please drop it in the comments below, so that way we can read it and other tryhards in our community can also read it.
Yes. Remember, if you have any questions or any comments, updates about your life, let us know. We are so happy to read when people update us about their life or ask a question. It's like the best thing ever.
If you liked this episode, please drop a like.
But and if you love this episode, subscribe.
We'll see you again next Thursday morning. Have a great week, tryhards, and we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.